What would happen if just one prayer were strong enough to shift an entire destiny? When a Sagittarius reaches a dead end, the world is no longer an adventure. Everything becomes heavy. Doors that once opened wide suddenly close in silence. But it is precisely in those moments, when the light outside fades, that you are invited to return to the light within yourself. The universe never forgets souls who carry in their hearts the fire of Jupiter. And today, you are here, not by coincidence. You are here to awaken a prayer meant only for Sagittarius. A prayer that can open the gateway to miracles, releasing you from the most urgent situation through a divine power that has long awaited your arrival. Comment right now. I am ready to receive the sacred miracle meant just for me. Because it is not just a sentence. It is a way for you to connect with the universal energy quietly guiding you toward peace, liberation, and prosperity. If this touches your heart, please like and share this video as a blessing. Remember, what you give, the universe will return to you, in ways you never imagined. Sagittarius, when the bearer of light begins to doubt themselves. There are moments in life when even Sagittarius, the one known as the flame of hope, feels lost. Not because they are weak, but because the challenges the universe sends to Sagittarius often come in the form of external breakdowns, so that within, a noble soul can be reborn. With Jupiter as the ruling planet, Sagittarius is born with a mission to explore, expand, and illuminate. But did you know that the souls entrusted with the most light often walk through the deepest darkness? When a Sagittarius begins to question their path, it is not a sign of failure. It is a sacred invitation to pause, listen to the inner calling, and prepare for a leap toward destiny. In midlife, Sagittarius often faces a profound inner shift. No longer chasing busyness out there. No longer lost in aimless adventures. They begin to ask, what truly matters to me? Have I strayed too far from my own soul? And that is precisely when a prayer is born. When a Sagittarius prays, they are not simply asking for something. They are entering a sacred space, where the heart speaks directly to the intelligence of the universe. Where all pain, loss, and confusion are not rejected, but embraced and transformed into radiant gems of inner strength. Sagittarius does not need someone to tell them what to do. They only need a moment of stillness, enough to remember that they hold the key to unlock their own doors. Astrology calls this the phase of Jupiter's return, when the ruling planet returns to the position it held at your birth, often occurring during the midlife cycle. This is when midlife Sagittarius souls begin to realize that miracles are not far away. They reside in the ability to pause, to listen, and to believe once more. Because when Sagittarius believes, the entire universe seems to move with them. You may be facing urgent situations, an unexpected breakup, a debt still unpaid, a career plan that has fallen apart, or worse, a long silence with no answers. But remember, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and no closure is ever final for a Sagittarius. The prayer you are about to speak is not just words. It is a rebirth. Right now, you don't need to try to understand everything. You just need to sit down, be still, place your hand over your heart, and speak from its deepest place. Please help me remember the light I once carried when I was born. Let that voice open the inner gate that has remained closed for too long. Because once a Sagittarius remembers why they came here, no circumstance can confine them. Are you ready to receive a miracle created by your very soul? If yes, then comment, I am ready to receive the sacred miracle meant just for me. It is not just an affirmation. It is a call that awakens the light waiting for you to step into it. When Sagittarius sits down and begins to pray, the universe quietly shifts. There is something mysterious that happens when a Sagittarius truly sits down, closes their eyes, and begins to pray. No longer the wanderer without a destination. No longer lost between ideals and reality. They become a soul returning home, a flame rediscovering the very source of its own light. For many, prayer may be nothing more than a collection of words. But for Sagittarius, prayer is a sacred ritual, a place where the heart opens wide before the universe. Where there is no more pretending. Where the naked soul stands before the divine and says, "I am tired. Please help me remember the strength I once had." In astrology, when a Sagittarius enters a state of true prayer, it is the moment Jupiter begins to activate its most subtle movements. The position of the Sun, the aspects of Neptune, the planet of spirituality, or the orbit of the Moon, all seem to come together to compose a sacred symphony, the symphony of restoration. Sagittarius does not need to understand all the astrological symbols to feel this. They simply feel it, because within them lies a spiritual compass gifted by Jupiter at birth. When they sit down to pray, they do not plead. They activate. They do not cling. They call forth. It is in that moment that even the most urgent situations, which once seemed like dead ends, begin to reveal a sliver of light, a light only the eyes of faith can recognize. Dear Heavenly One, I am a Sagittarius, the wanderer who carries the flame. I have gone far. I have fought. I have tried. And now, I sit down, not to surrender, but to offer up the truth within my heart. Please see me. Please hear me. Please remind me that no storm is forever. And no desert is without an oasis if I still believe. When that prayer rises from the deepest part of the Sagittarius heart, something miraculous begins to happen. Not loudly, not grandly. Just a quiet sense of peace, like waking up from a deep sleep and knowing that something, no matter how small, has just been healed inside you. A Sagittarius does not pray to escape reality. They pray to return to themselves. To remember that even if the world outside is collapsing, within them still exists a land where fire cannot burn, poverty cannot touch, and failure cannot enter. That land is the unshakable heart of a Sagittarius loyal to their faith. And do you know what happens next? The urgent situation doesn't vanish immediately. But you are no longer the same trembling person facing it. You become a torchbearer, walking even when darkness still surrounds you, because you have reconnected with the eternal light within. If you are going through a difficult time, financial hardship, broken relationships, emotional exhaustion, this is your moment to stop and pray like a true Sagittarius. You don't need poetic words. Only a sincere heart, a quiet space, and an inner decision that says, I will not let darkness decide the direction of my light. Comment now, I am opening my heart to receive what is divinely meant for me. Because when you write it down, the universe remembers. And when you believe, the universe begins to move. Miracles don't need a reason, they only need a heart brave enough to pray. When Sagittarius listens to their guardian angel, the silent sacred message. In the visible world we live in, sometimes the invisible is the most powerful. Sagittarius is one of the rare zodiac signs gifted with the ability to connect with such forces. Not with their eyes. Not with their logic. But with an inner rhythm, where the soul knows how to recognize even the subtlest signals from the higher realms. That is when your guardian angel begins to whisper, softly like the wind, yet powerful enough to stir an entire destiny that has fallen asleep. Guardian angels do not appear with radiant halos like in paintings. They hide within sudden feelings that make your heart sink, only to rise again unexpectedly. They are present in a sentence someone casually says that strikes you to your core. They send signals through repeating numbers, through dreams, through music, or sometimes, just a long silence you cannot name. But your intuition tells you something is being arranged. With the energy of Jupiter within, Sagittarius is born with guided intuition. But intuition is not always loud. especially when you are struggling with urgent situations, financial pressure, emotional loss, or a deep sense of having no anchor. In those moments, angels do not intervene by removing the challenge. They whisper instead, "I am here. Trust the next step, even if you cannot yet see it." The prayer of a Sagittarius never disappears into the void. It is welcomed by layer upon layer of energetic fields, vibrational realms waiting for your openness to intervene. When you speak from your deepest sincerity, "Please guide me through this time. I trust that there is light behind the challenge." In that very moment, you open a sacred door. Many believe prayer is meant to change circumstances. But for Sagittarius, prayer is meant to change the inner self before the circumstance. When the mind is transformed, the situation is no longer a burden. It becomes a teacher, a reminder that you are on a journey of expanded consciousness. In midlife, when upheavals are no longer unfamiliar, Sagittarius begins to learn how to live more slowly. Not because they are weaker, but because they understand now, some lessons cannot be rushed through. They must be walked step by step, with full presence and unwavering faith. The guardian angel is the silent companion in each of those steps. You don't need to see them to know they are real. Because every time you overcome something that once seemed impossible, when you forgive, when you rise, when you continue to love, that is a sign your angel has placed a hand on your shoulder and said, "You can." And you just did. The most effective prayer is not the perfect one. It is the honest one. When you are truthful with your emotions, whether pain, despair, or even anger, you open space for grace to pour in. And for Sagittarius, when their heart truly opens, no force of darkness can stop the light from spreading. If right now, you feel something within you trembling, allow yourself to speak these words. "I am open to receiving the sacred message meant just for me. No one else needs to hear it. The universe is already listening." And once you trust, the heavens will begin to move. At the right time, in the right way, and always for your highest good. Do not forget, you are never alone. Do not believe in the illusion of isolation. That is only a mirage when the heart is weary. You are surrounded by sacred beings patiently waiting for you to invite them in. All you need to say is, "Please enter my life. I am ready to receive." In that very moment, the impossible begins to become possible. If you have come this far, comment, "I am ready to receive guidance from my guardian angel." Because writing those words is not just a declaration. It is a sacred act. It is how you let the universe know that you are ready to step into a new chapter of miracles. When Sagittarius whispers to Saint Anthony, the intercessor for what seems hopeless. After listening to the whispers of the guardian angel, a gentle peace begins to settle into your mind. This feeling is not a fleeting relief, but rather a quiet touch from another realm, a place where you are certain that you are being seen, being held. And in that state, Sagittarius often turns to a sacred symbol their soul has long been connected with. Saint Anthony, the keeper of what has been lost and the final door for souls that feel they have no hope left. You do not need to belong to any specific religion to understand the symbol of Saint Anthony. For many, he is the embodiment of mercy, of the outstretched hand where all other methods have failed. To Sagittarius, this image is not of a distant figure, but a call echoing from the soul. "Let your faith be lifted by the invisible wings I have kept through the ages." In midlife, when life's crises are no longer theory but lived experience, etched through tears, wounds, and silent surrender, Sagittarius begins to understand that strength is not always in pushing through. Sometimes, true strength is found in the willingness to bow the head and say, "Please help me stand again." And that is when the prayer to Saint Anthony becomes a mystical bridge. In astrology, the 12th house, the house of the unconscious, of spiritual faith, and the hidden, is often where you are invited to surrender control and trust. When Jupiter, Sagittarius's ruling planet, illuminates the 12th house, A prayer rising in the wind is not an act of defeat. It is the beginning of intervention from a higher realm. You don't need to know exactly what to say. The magic of prayer is not in its structure, but in its sincerity. If your heart is heavy with unspoken things, all you need to do is whisper, "Saint Anthony, please bring light to the places I can no longer see." He will hear you. Because Sagittarius souls have a mysterious bond with the vibrational realms of faith, where a plea becomes an actual movement of energy. If you feel lost, if there is something precious you believe you will never recover, a dream, a loved one, a self that has been buried, then this is the time to call upon Saint Anthony in prayer. Imagine yourself stepping into a sacred space. Perhaps you are in the familiar comfort of your room, or simply in a moment of stillness within during a busy afternoon. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and in that silence, you speak. Dear Saint Anthony, I am someone trying to find myself again. I am Sagittarius, the one who carries a flame of unending longing, but whose feet now grow weary. I have tried, I have endured, I have walked with hope, but today, I need divine intervention from a place I cannot reach on my own. You do not need to hear a response. Nor do you need a clear sign immediately. But something strange will happen. A small door will open where there was once a wall. Something you thought was lost will return in a different form. A phone call, an opportunity, a glimmer of light in the dark. You will realize that your prayer has been heard. And the universe has begun to rearrange everything. Sagittarius does not need flashy miracles. What they seek is the feeling that they are on the right path, that each step is being guided. And the quiet prayer to Saint Anthony is not just a plea. It is a declaration to the universe. I accept that there are things beyond my understanding, but nothing is beyond the reach of my faith. If in this moment you feel something in your heart open up, a fragile hope beginning to stir, do not keep it to yourself. Comment. I believe that what I thought was lost will return in the most miraculous way. Writing those words is a way to resonate with a shared faith. A way to tell the universe that you are ready to receive. And you know what? Sagittarius is always among the most powerfully reborn, not because they fall less, but because they always have a reason to rise, faith. When the miracle begins to take root within, the silent transformation of Sagittarius. There is one thing most of us tend to forget. Miracles do not always arrive like thunder or radiant light from the heavens. Often, they begin as the subtlest feeling, a light touch. Like the first raindrop on dry soil. Like the dawn barely peeking after a seemingly endless night. And this is the moment when Sagittarius, having prayed, having let go and trusted, begins to feel the transformation happening within. You may not recognize it immediately. Everything around you may still look the same. The bills are still unpaid. The loved one has not returned. The career remains stalled. But one tiny thing begins to shift. You are no longer in despair. Instead of heaviness upon waking, you feel a gentle stillness. Instead of constantly asking, "Why is this happening?" you begin to whisper, "Maybe this is leading me to something better." And in that very moment, your energy changes. In astrology, this is when Jupiter, your planet, begins to open the house of inner fortune. No longer about dramatic breakthroughs in the outer world, but a quiet expansion of the heart. When Sagittarius enters this phase, they often become more serene. Not because they have lost their fire, but because the fire has been refined. No longer blazing outward in search, but glowing steadily within. Then, even the smallest things in life become part of the miracle. An unexpected call from a distant loved one. A job opportunity you never saw coming. A chance conversation that delivers the very lesson you've needed. These are not coincidences. They are orchestrations by a universe that knows what is best for you, and has been moving in rhythm with the prayer you once whispered in silence. Now, you begin to see that the miracle is not in the change of circumstance, but in how you've changed your perception of it. You no longer react with fear, but with calm observation. You no longer despair when one door closes, because you now know, if you hold firm in faith, another door will open. At the right time, in the right place, and just for you. It's not easy. There will be days when that peace is tested. Times you ask yourself, was my prayer really heard? But then, you'll remember that Sagittarius is the sign of the spiritual traveler, the one who never gives up halfway. Even when the journey turns inward to the soul's deepest places. And day by day, you begin to realize that miracles are no longer distant. A miracle is the ability to smile again after pain. A miracle is choosing to forgive, even when no apology is offered. A miracle is realizing you are still alive, still breathing, still awake enough to believe in a better future. That is when Sagittarius truly returns to their essence, a soul that lives by faith. If you are feeling those small stirrings within your heart, know that they are not illusions. They are signals that the miracle has begun within you. And when the inside is ready, the outside will begin to reflect that change. Don't hesitate to write down how you feel in this moment. Comment: I can feel the miracle beginning to grow within my heart. This is not just sharing with the community. It is a way of sealing your sacred journey, the journey that only a heart as open as Sagittarius's can walk with such steady devotion. When the world around you begins to shift, the miracle spreads from within Sagittarius into reality. Your inner transformation cannot remain hidden forever. It is like a wave radiating from the heart, quiet but persistent. And at a certain point, you begin to see that very change reflected in the world around you. When a Sagittarius truly connects with the faith inside, they not only revive themselves, but unintentionally trigger positive movement in what once felt frozen all around them. Perhaps someone you were in conflict with suddenly reaches out. An unexpected job offer appears. A long-abandoned project shows signs of life again. Or sometimes, you simply feel, your living space becomes more pleasant, the trees greener, the morning light warmer. These are not small things. They are the universe's delicate and gentle response to the miracle you've been quietly planting with your faith. Astrology calls this the Jupiter reflection effect. When your ruling planet moves in alignment with your spiritual path, it activates energy portals in the first house, the 7th house, and the 10th house, corresponding to self, relationships, and career. What is unique for Sagittarius is this: when you change how you see the world begins to change how it sees you. However, there is something important to remember. This change does not always come in a flood. It is not like a thunderstorm. It is more like spring gradually melting the frost. You will need to learn to listen for the smallest shifts, like a gardener noticing the first sprout breaking through cold soil. And like a gardener, you must keep your heart quiet and patient. Because lasting change always needs time to take root. When your prayer has been offered from a sincere heart, you do not need to repeat it over and over. You simply begin to live as if what you asked for is already on its way. You start treating yourself with more gentleness. You begin seeing others not through judgment, but with understanding. You begin accepting the imperfections of life, not because you've given up, but because you know that certain things must come at the right time, in the right way, to truly belong to you. At this point, you may feel a little lonely, because not everyone will understand the spiritual journey you are walking. But remember, Sagittarius was not born to blend into the crowd. You were born to light the way. To be the first flame kindled when others are still lost in the dark. And then, the very light you ignite will spread, inspire, and become a beacon for others. If you look back on the past few months and realize, I am no longer the person I used to be, then congratulations. You've activated one of the most powerful cycles of transformation in your life. And trust that every good thing you've ever sent out, in your prayers, your acts of kindness, your silent compassion, is on its way back to you, sometimes in completely unexpected and beautiful forms. If your heart feels like it's expanding right now, comment, "I welcome the new movements the universe is bringing into my life." Because writing it is a ritual. It's how you declare to the world that you are not just praying, you are living in preparation for what is good. And if you can spread this, through a share, a word, or simply through your own more peaceful presence each day, then you are not only receiving the miracle, you are becoming the one who gives it. When Sagittarius gives thanks, and the miracle becomes a living reality. After all the whispered prayers, after all the long nights spent alone with your faith, after the silent tears no one saw, it is time for Sagittarius to lift their head. Not because everything is perfect, but because inside you, a deep peace is rising, like sunlight after morning mist. At this moment, you no longer need a miracle, because you have become the miracle. You no longer need life to change instantly, because you know it is shifting, little by little, at the universe's perfect pace. You no longer need immediate answers to all your questions, because you've learned that sometimes silence is a form of divine guidance. In astrology, this is the phase where Jupiter, your ruling planet, enters its post-recovery radiance. It is when, after retrograde, after introspection and confrontation, it begins to shine its brightest. It blesses not with noise, but with the silent rebirth of gratitude. This gratitude doesn't need to be spoken, but if it is, it becomes a confirmation to the universe. I have received, and I know I am loved, protected, and guided. Perhaps you are still in the process of healing. Perhaps things are not yet completely clear. But you are no longer where you once were. You are different, deeper, quieter, more connected to your own soul. You begin to see small things with new eyes, a quiet morning, a cool breeze, a bird's song, a hug from a loved one, a glance of shared understanding. All become signs of the miracle. Because when Sagittarius has prayed with their heart, they don't just change their fate. They change how they live, how they love, and how they see the world. And now, you begin to give thanks, not just for what you've received, but for the journey that led you here. You give thanks for the stumbles that taught you to pray. You give thanks for the losses that brought you inward. You give thanks to yourself for not giving up. This is the stage where you are no longer waiting for the miracle. You live as if the miracle has already begun. You work with respect for yourself. You treat others kindly, even if they may not fully understand you. You no longer need the crowd's approval, because you know the universe has already validated you. If you have walked with me all the way to this point, leave a final prayer, gentle, simple, yet powerful. I am grateful for the miracle that is taking shape in my life. Writing that is not for anyone else to see. It is your way of officially closing this prayer journey in light, and opening a new cycle in the energy of fullness. If this journey has meaning for you, share it. Not because others need to hear it, but because you are planting a seed you yourself once received. And like all things in the universe, when you sow in light, you will reap in love. You are Sagittarius. You are the light. And that light can never be extinguished.